I was gonna say, like, I agree with AP, and I've said this before about this idea of masculine, feminine, this kind of stuff. When I just think a lot of it is just human behavior, right? So a man arguing with a woman, and I know, people will disagree, and I'm okay with that, but I don't necessarily think that it is feminine to go back and forth. I think it's immaturity, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so I think, we're labeling things. I would say we're mislabeling things because we're trying to place human expression or human experiences in a box and say only this group can do this. And if the other group do that, then that makes them masculine. Only, and vice versa. And so we pigeonhole people into only being able to be who they are based on what societal standards say. This is what you need to be. This is what you need to be. And the problem with that is what we deal with now, where men are feeling like they can't express themselves because that's too feminine. So they never learn to develop their emotional IQ because society tells them that you're not supposed to, you know, understand this or do this. That's what women do. You know what I'm saying? And then vice versa. If there are women who are very adept at problem solving, they're go-getters, they're goal-oriented, then society is say, oh, you're acting too masculine. That's just her makeup. You know what I'm saying? And so those are the things that I get frustrated with, because you don't allow the person to uh, be the full expression of themselves. And I'm not saying that there isn't a way to develop certain things, like needing to reel things in. Like when you're arguing, like I said, going back and forth is not a male female thing, it's an immaturity thing. Even if a female is emotional, there's nothing wrong with being emotional. You're built like that. If a man is emotional, I don't think it's a masculine, a feminine thing to be emotional. It's when either or gets overly emotional is the problem. If you don't maintain your emotion when you're having a conversation, you cease to have a conversation at that point. So it's important that both people keep check of their emotions. So that's my take on it. I don't like using those labels, trying to call somebody feminine because they are, debating or arguing or going back and forth.
Yeah, I would say I agree that immaturity is the bigger thing, but men and women don't receive information the same. They don't receive emotions the same. So, a man being emotional in certain ways to a woman, even if he's not being overly emotional, can turn a woman to think that this man is strange to him, to her, right? But when the shoe is on the other foot, when women are being quote unquote overly emotional, we just say that it's annoying, but we can deal with it a lot better because of the way that we're wired. So I don't think we
I would say
really
conditioned, not necessarily wired.
no,
Conditioned.
I think wired because there's certain things that when you a man cries in front of you, depending on what it is, you're gonna look at him kind of strange.
Because of conditioning.
But it's not just conditioning.
It
It's just that
is.
it's not just because of conditioning. It's just a natural reaction. If a guy comes up to you, your husband does something that you think is real fruity, and he starts talking real weird to you, you're gonna be like, well, first of all, you don't talk like this. Second of all, if he's acting in this fruity way, right? More than likely, you're gonna be like, "Where's the man at? He's acting somewhat feminine," and you will turn around and be like, "Ooh, I don't like this." Go back to the man, and it's not conditioning. It's just what it is that you are attracted to. There's just natural things that's
I
in
think that
you.
can still be in a conditioning.
It
It's not
is
conditioning.
because men are taught not to cry, right? So in essence, even though you all are taught not to cry, the other end of that coin is that women have the expectation that men don't cry. So we're buying into that same conditioning. So when that happens, we're also conditioned to understand masculinity the same way that you guys were conditioned to believe what masculinity is. So if you're taught not to cry, we don't expect you to cry. We're taught not to express your emotions. On the other end, we're understanding that men don't do that. So both of us are getting the same condition. And so yes, of course, I'm going to feel some kind of way if I believe that men don't cry or express their emotions, and then you come to me as a man and you're boo-hooing about something, and then just, oh, I just feel and da, 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 da. I may look now. I'm not that type, but I'm just saying for sake of example, is that I may feel uncomfortable about that because I've never had experienced a man who was secure enough in himself to be able to cry and express their emotions, because that was nothing that I was taught that men do. So that's what I'm trying to say. That's where the conditioning comes in. We're both being conditioned to believe the same thing. Just
I
like
do.
y'all are supposed to be providers. At one point, the only idea behind provision, for the most part, was get money. Make sure as long as you got money, you can pay the bills in the house, you a man, you a good husband. Whereas now that's no longer the norm, but yet we still perpetuate that idea because of conditioning.
I agree. There is some level of conditioning, but the reason why I also argue that it's just genetic wiring is because these are the things that each other needs to feel secure. If you got a guy who's emotionally all over the place, you're not going to feel good when you're emotionally all over the place. Vice
Do you
versa.
think women feel good when they're emotionally all over the place?
No, and that's the reason why you want a guy that doesn't that had has his emotions in check, so that you can get your emotions in check. You say, well, if he ain't tripping, why am I tripping? That's what I'm saying. There is a biological wiring for these things for survival. Because the thing is you need what I got, and I got what you need. So you just like you need what I got, and I got what you need. My bad. But it's just like I just don't think that well, I think you understand. You're a smart woman. But yes, there's conditioning. I agree. But I think that there's just certain hard wiring things. If you like men and you're a woman, you're not looking for women or traits in women and men. You're looking for things that are opposite of women. Same thing with men. If men like women, they're going to be looking for the qualities that women naturally exude. And we're hardwired to want that because guess what? If we were both the same, like say for instance, if men only mess with men, the whole entire world would die because you can't procreate. Same thing. If women only mess with women, the entire world would die because there's no way to procreate. That's the reason why we were designed differently so that when we come together, we can continue to grow society. But when we say that, people would be looking at us like we crazy. That's all I'm saying.